Hey, this is Justice, your host on From Pieces to Purpose, and this is our safe space. Our safe space where we are healing from heartbreak, reclaiming our power back, and going out and living our God-given purpose. So come on in and enjoy the conversation. Okay, I want to set the stage contextually for you so that we can all be on the same page as to why we're here, okay? And how this podcast even came to fruition. And so it all started, the genesis, it all started when I was 20 years old. And I had just married my high school boyfriend in 2014. And so this was after I joined the military, I joined the Navy, and married this man. And I'm setting the stage for who Justice was going into the marriage. So young, are we gonna cuss on this podcast? We're gonna cuss on this podcast. Can we get real? I was at the ripe age of 20, didn't know who I was, didn't have a sense of self. I was very much heavily influenced by my exterior circumstances and people in my life. So I was easily impressionable at the time. I had no idea who I was or what I wanted. And here I am joining my life together with this man who at the same ripe age of 17 did not know who he was either. The Justice I was when I got married thought that I had more value because I was married, because I had this perfect picture at the time of me, my husband, and my firstborn son. I thought I had it all made. I thought, nobody can tell me nothing. I am a wife, right? But had no idea what that actually meant at the time. And so, again, you take these two imperfect children, you bring them together, you join their lives together, things are bound to happen, and shit happened. Shit happened, y'all. I was consistently, regularly rejected in my marriage, and I became insecure. I formed this warped version of love and what that actually is supposed to look like based off of what I experienced and what I brought into the marriage. I became a mother shortly after being married and experienced one of the most traumatic losses during that time as well, when I lost my firstborn son. And so all of this, again, it's giving you context as to the marriage was not great. It was not great. And I was also not great. I also didn't know who I was. I also didn't necessarily knew what I wanted. And I joined my life with a person. So whether it was my ex or someone else, it exposed to me my heart and who I was. So fast forward, married for 8 or 9 years. I would sit here and do the math for y'all, but that is not as important as what's following. So fast forward to the divorce, right? And I wish I should have painted this a more beautiful love story for y'all, but I just don't have that in me right now to paint this beautiful love story because I don't want to discredit or downplay the love that my ex and I shared during that time and when we were married and how beautiful marriage alone is. Despite what I may tell you guys and what I may share on this podcast, marriage was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it is a beautiful thing. I just didn't have the best experience because I was not properly prepared to be married. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Because I was not properly prepared to be married. So I am sharing with you all the results and what that looks like when you don't do it the right way. And I'm using air quotes because there isn't one set path, but there is a way of going about doing things that I believe were intended to not harm us. And if we would just listen and obey, we wouldn't be in half the crap that we're in. Okay, I'm just gonna leave that for another episode as well. But fast forward to the divorce. It wasn't something that I wanted. It wasn't something that I initiated. He wanted to get a divorce for his own personal reasons, and I did not accept it at first, which caused more hurt, more pain, more confusion, all the things, because I didn't accept what was in front of me initially. I fought it. In the name of me fighting for my marriage, I fought a decision that a person outside of me has already made. And so I was the most fragile, the most insecure, small during that season. And interesting enough, this happened 2019, 2020. This was going into 2020, where all hell was breaking loose in the world, and here my world was coming crashing down. I was broken. I was hurt. I was confused. Confused, child. I was confused. I was discouraged. I was angry. I was isolated. I felt betrayed. I felt abandoned. I felt neglected. All the things during that time. And now I'm a single mom who was also just frustrated and confused and was fighting even that. And so when I come onto this podcast and I come on the show and I tell you guys, I can relate. I know where you are, whether we've gone through the exact same situation. I know what betrayal feels like. I know what discouragement feels like. I know what doubt feels like, where your heart is hardened by a consistent offense from someone that said that they loved you. I know what that feels like. But I also know what the love of God feels like. And I know what forgiveness and freedom feels like. And I'm happy to say on the other side of the work that we're going to talk about here, on the other side of that is a level of peace and confidence that I would not trade for more drama and confusion. I just hope that even my story of having been married for, almost 10 years and dealing with the level of toxicity with a person for years, but also knowing what it feels like to be deeply connected and love a person through and through feels like as well. I hope that encourages you that there is another side to that if you're in the middle of it, there is hope for you. Let me just say this. I'm trying to get my full thought together. It is my hope that this show is able to touch each person in their perspective area in the journey, whether you haven't gone through anything like traumatic yet, that you can use this as an education piece to kind of like gain some clarity, some wisdom, so that you can move with wisdom and not have to go through some of the things that I've gone through or others have gone through. Whether this is the person that's in the middle, going through a divorce, in a troubled relationship or marriage, is giving up hope on love and relationships, is out here just in these streets because she's sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? This for you too. This for you too, because I'm letting you know, it's okay to still hope for love. It's okay to still love again and be open and be free, and to not be bound by past mistakes or regrets or things and offenses that people have done to you. So interesting enough, I got the idea for this show back in 2021 because I realized the process that God was taking me on when it came to my heart. There was some things that got into my heart that was changing my behavior, and I started to not recognize myself. And not physically. It wasn't like, oh, you look crazy, you need to get your hair done. No, it was like, you're making decisions that are completely opposite to who I know you to be, looking at myself in the mirror. And so during that time, God dropped this idea in my heart of a show where we have these conversations and I speak about the things that I'm learning, actively learning, and have learned based off what I've gone through, because here's the reality check, right? Whether you've gone through what I gone through or something else or something worse, whatever, you didn't go through it in vain. It didn't just happen just to happen to you, for you to say this season was terrible. No, God wants to use that. God wants to use your pain for purpose. God wants to use the pieces of your story for purpose. And that was why I created this show. This is why I am here to prove to myself and to show other people that, like, despite all the shit you gone through, okay, you can still be used by God. The messiness and the trauma can still be used by God for a beautiful purpose to help you on the other side of this microphone, this screen, right? To help you. And if I had to go through what I went through to be able to help others not do the same, who am I to continue to say no and disobey and do my own thing? Until I'm brought right back to this space where I'm reminded again that you have purpose. God has a plan for your life. And I didn't even mean to go here. Look, this ain't even in my notes. Not even in my notes, but you have purpose. God has a plan for your life. And despite where you fall on this healing journey, He will meet you there. He can meet you there. And it's my hope that these conversations that we have on this here show, that we can support each other, we can encourage each other, we can lift each other up, we can share some of our testimonies, because listen, me saying, hey, when I went left, this happened. So next when you get to this intersection, go right. That's going to save you time. That's going to save you peace. That's going to save you a situationship. Okay, sis, we here. It's going to save you all of that. If you listen, right? If you listen and if you decide. So what can you expect from the show? Some of the topics that I want to make sure that we cover are topics about boundaries, about forgiveness, about how to move on. Okay? How to move on. How to create an environment for healing and to set your atmosphere so that way you feel encouraged and empowered to continue in your healing journey. I want to talk about single motherhood and codependency and healing codependency. I want to talk about dating after divorce. Okay? Y'all hear me in the back. My. Anywho, I want to talk about all of that. I want to talk about all of that because I believe that we can help each other. And I'm here to help each other. I'm here to rally around one another and start doing the work. Start really doing the work. And what does that actually look like? Because I know y'all hear that a lot, doing the work. So we're going to talk about that too. So if you know me, if you know anything about me or you know me, you know that I love me a good deep question, a good thought-provoking question to get the mind going, to get you reflecting, all that good stuff. So this part of the show, I am asking you all and encouraging you all to journal with me this deep question of the week, okay? And it's my hope that with these questions and with you answering these questions, that you can get more clarity on your circumstance, that you can really think about just who you are and see who you are on a page. I've always known it to be true that, you know, when you're journaling and you're really like getting your thoughts and ideas out on paper, that you learn a different level of yourself. And so today's deep question is, who am I now that I am no longer married or in that relationship? And even deeper than that, how have I changed since being in that marriage/relationship? And with this question, I don't want you to concern yourself with, am I worse or better than who I was before? But more so, ask yourself, you know, how am I different? How am I different? How do I show up differently? How do I view love differently now that I'm not in that marriage or relationship? Now that I'm divorced, How do I practice forgiveness now? How do I view men now that I'm no longer in that relationship? Because here's the thing, that circumstance, that situation, what you went through, it will change you. And I don't want us to be so focused on if it's changing you for the better or for the worse, but it's more so like, oh, it changed me. Let me see if this is the change that aligns with who I know myself to be, or is this the change that is pulling me further away from the thing that I'm desiring and asking for? Because you want to be able to recognize your patterns or recognize in one season, I thought love was just buying me gifts. But in this season, I'm realizing that love is quality time. I value more quality time showing up, whatever it is, but get it down on paper. Get it down on paper. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show, as well as those of you over here on YouTube who are watching the show. Thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review. It helps other folks find the show, for one, and also letting them know like what we about, that we got positive vibes over here. We trying to help bless your life. Okay, let them know we good. And for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, consider subscribing, sticking around for deeper, more engaging, more valuable conversations like this one today. Thank you again for listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.